Good morning. Welcome to PA Timber Ghost. We're at the end of May, and today we're at State Game Lands 222, which is aka Devils Hole. So today we're going to hike up the side of the mountain and we're going to go back into Devils Hole. There's really no way to come into the State Game Lands. There's only two tiny parking lots. We used to come in front of the ravine, but a new property owner bought the front of the ravine and it's now posted. So half of Cold Run Road is posted on both sides. 222 is actually on the right side and the left side. If you're coming up Cold Run Road, we're actually on the right side. And this is an area where most of my videos are about, and this is probably where we've killed most of our deer. It's a very steep hike from where we're at. We're approximately going to climb up 900 feet to the top, and we'll have some overlook shots. There's another car. Hopefully nobody will text me this time. Some of my videos you can actually hear my phone ringing in the background. I turned the volume down, but I keep getting texts all the time. So it's very pretty in here. Everything is green. I turn the camera around, you can see what everything looks like in here. It's a blue jay hollering in the background. It's very pretty in here. If you want to shoot a big buck, this is where you want to be. State Game Lands 222, and you want to hunt Devil's Hole. Unfortunately, because the front of the ravine is posted, it is very difficult to access because of the height of the mountains that surround this area. Basically it's a box end canyon. So right now where we're at is really the only way up and down, and I'm hoping in the future the Game Commission will make a road in here where we can walk up. The front end of the ravine used to go like this up to about 900 feet, and the property owner had it logged out. So what the timber company did was they ran an excavator up the front of the mountain and they made a road, and basically that's what we've been walking up and down on the road for all the years. So stick with us. We're going to climb up the side of the mountain today, and we'll have some views, some scenic overlook views, and we'll walk down through the ravine, look at the hemlocks and what it looks like back here. Still going up. I think we're about halfway to the top. You can see how steep this is. Can you imagine dragging a deer up or down this hill? It's kind of ridiculous. Right there. I see it. Okay, tons of deer sign in here. We did just scare up a nice doe. So now we're going to go to the front end of the ravine, and I'll see if I can get a picture from the overlook. All kinds of deer trails in here. I would say State Game Lands 222. Devil's Hole was definitely underhunted. There's tracks everywhere, and you can see where they're nibbling on the trees. So if you're looking for a good spot to hunt, this is it. 222. It's just very hard to get into. Top of the mountain. So we're at what, 1900 feet? 1300 feet. This is the highest point of Devil's Hole. If you look down in here, the bottom of that ravine is Devil's Hole. So we're not actually in our hunting spot. We're on the mountain on the other side. That's how steep it is back here. Here's the top of the other ridge. The other side of the ridge is Hecla, and on the other side of Hecla are the railroad tracks. So we're actually 2 mountains away from Hecla, and we're 1 mountain above our hunting spot. Then you can see all the way down the ravine to the other side. But basically this is Devil's Hole back in here, and it's got its name because it's hard to get in and hard to get out. It's blocked in by mountains on both sides, and you can go back through Devil's Hole all the way to the back end of the Atlas Powder Company. And then the hunting club is on one side, and then the other side is Heisler's Dairy Bar, and then to the left of that would be the hunting camp. So there's over 20,000 acres back in here. There's plenty of room to hunt, and probably only 1% of this area even gets hunted anymore because it's too difficult to get into. Very pretty up here. There's somebody's old tree stand there. I don't know how old that is. See a rung there, rung up there. Okay, so now we're actually in Devil's Hole. We're on a trail that we used to come into, walk back in this ravine, but now there's no access to. It's very pretty back here. You can hear the water behind me, the small waterfall. There are native trout in that stream. They're very tiny, very pretty brook trout. But basically back here it's all hemlocks, rhododendrons. We started to hunt this area back in the late 80s. There were so many hemlocks in here that the north side never saw the sun. The hemlocks actually blocked all the sunlight out on that side of the ravine. So maybe about, during rifle season, maybe about 3 or 4 o'clock, the sun would hit that side and you would see a little bit, and then it would get dark. But this basically is Devil's Hole. So we're going to walk up the trail and kind of show you what it looks like back here. Okay, so basically this is the old cart road. The cart road went from the Hecla side of the mountain and through the ravine, and it came out at the hunting camp. So if the Game Commission would ever put a road in up there, if they could get like a skid loader or something, just make a path down to this old cart road. That would be the easiest way to get in here. If you're not hunting this area, you are missing out on a lot. It's very beautiful back here, and there's still a lot of deer here. Still a lot of deer sign. But this is another look at the cart road. It's a great place to go for a day hike. Bring a lunch. Just sit down next to the water and enjoy the wilderness. You can't hear any cars here. The cell phone service is terrible. You may have 1 or 2 bars back in here. Very pretty. Very old hemlock. I wonder how old that is. If I stand next to it, you can actually see how big around that hemlock tree is compared to me. I'm 6'2", about 250. Some native trout in there. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not. There's 2 4-inch brook trout in there. Just shows you how clean the water is back here. If there's any trout hiding in there. I don't see any in there. Still lots of deer in here. See that deer trail going up there? There's deer tracks all over it. Probably one up there watching me right now. Here's a chickadee. Let's see if we get closer to the chickadee. Yeah, I think I flew away. I just walked into that spider web. Look how big that deer track is compared to my finger. Deer all through here. Looks like somebody was beating that poor tree up. I think the deer won that battle. You can see the hemlocks at the bottom. I'm going up the hill following the deer trail. So as I'm going up, it's starting to change in the hardwoods. There's a lot of food in here for the deer. A lot of acres for them to hide. The habitat is just over the top in here. It's so thick and there's so much food. Sit on top of the hill here and we'll listen to the babbling brook going through the hemlock trees. It's very relaxing. Okay, right on the other side of the mountain here is the Hecla side. Basically, you can go up to the ridge and you can follow that all the way back to Atlas Powder Company. And then if you make a left, it'll go down to the stream. If you go back there far enough, there's two streams here. One goes down this way and one goes that way. So if you go, got a spider web on me. If you go down to the back and you follow the stream, it'll take you out to the Atlas Powder Company side. And then the hunting club is at the back end of this ravine. There's a swamp at the back end. I've actually killed a few deer back in the swamp. Usually when this would get overrun with deer hunters, it would push all the deer back into that swamp. And then it's wide open and flat, so the deer would stay about, you could see them, but they would stay 400 or 500 yards out from you, and you could see them moving through the trees in the distance. But basically, the herd of deer would just keep running around you. You could never get close to them. So, lots of different areas to hunt. You could hunt around the water. You could hunt on the ridges. You could hunt on the north side, the south side, anywhere you want. If you've never been in this area, you need to give it a try. And look at the abundant wildlife that lives back here. Everything is very pristine. The environment back here is very fragile. Hopefully this area will never get logged out. Hopefully the commission will protect it. But we do need a road so we can all get in here and hunt this area. If you've never hunted this area, you're missing out. So we're going to be leaving here shortly, climb back up the 800 feet to the top. Okay, we're done for the day. We're getting ready to climb back down the mountain. We're on the ridge, so we have like another 800 foot climb to the bottom. If you see the mountain on the other side, how high up in the air we are. So we have to go all the way down there. So that's pretty much the end of this video. We'll see you back at the van. Thanks for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed our walk back into the mountain. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe at the bottom. Give me a thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching. Good morning. Welcome to PA Timber Ghost. This is a trailer for the video that we shot about State Game Lands 222. These are some of the buck that I have hanging on my wall, the larger ones. My hunting partner and I have probably taken at least 30 deer out of that ravine. A lot of big bucks, a lot of big doe. And this buck here, I actually talked about in a previous video. I actually saw this buck while I was muzzleloader hunting when we had the antlerless early season. And I saw this buck on Wednesday. And it was standing there looking at me, and I couldn't shoot it because you could only shoot a doe at that time. So I went to an archery store and bought my first 10-point turbo crossbow, and I harvested this deer on the Saturday after I bought the bow. This deer was killed at 7 a.m. as soon as the sun came up at about 30 yards. Very big bodied deer. Took me a while to find it, but I would estimate the live weight of this deer at about 220 pounds. Very, very heavy bodied deer. For that area, for some reason, that area seems genetically to have very large deer. Some of it's probably the genetics, some of it's probably the habitat. And the deer back in that area probably don't see a lot of people due to the fact that it's posted all the way around that State Game Lands. And I think the deer spend a lot of their life in the posted area. And then when their rut comes, or rifle comes, they wander back into that area. So there's the first one I killed in that area. One of the many buck. I have taken some out of there in rifle, but this is the largest buck I killed back there with a crossbow. This 8-point here, I've actually seen him 3 times. It took me 3 tries to actually connect with this one. This buck was actually the largest deer I've ever killed. Body wise, the antlers are very heavy. I would say that deer is probably about 240 or 250 body wise. After I shot this deer, I laid down on the ground next to it, and I'm 6'2", and the buck wasn't stretched out, and I laid down to see how big it was, and the length of the body was actually longer than I was. So this deer, when we got it back from the meat processor, I had well over 100 pounds of meat. Some of the steaks that were cut off the hindquarters of the buck were actually the biggest I've ever seen. So this is the biggest buck I've ever killed. This one was actually so heavy, I had to call my friend for some help. And what we did with this one is we had to drag it up the side of the mountain, which is typically when you kill a deer back in there, because it's so steep, you actually have to drag your deer up the side of the mountain and then down the other side. So what we did is I rolled a deer over, and I have a bone saw with me. I always have that bone saw. So what we did is we rolled the buck over, cut down through the ribs and through the spine, and then we actually halved the deer, and then we actually drug the buck out in 2 pieces. It was very heavy dragging something that heavy up the side of the mountain with all of our equipment. But this is actually the biggest deer I've ever killed. And I will have a few other pictures on the end of this video, that buck that my friend harvested out of there. But we started hunting that when we were 18, and I'm right around 50 now. And once that area in the beginning of the ravine was sold off and became posted property, that's when we stopped hunting that area, because we had no way of getting in there or getting the deer out of there. If you do shoot a deer back in there, be prepared. You either have to bone it out, or you're going to have to drag that very large animal up over the side of one mountain, which from the bottom of where the stream is that you can see in the video, it's 900 feet to the top according to Google Maps, and from the top down to where the road is, where the parking lot is, it's another 900 feet. So not really a place you want to drag something that heavy unless you're a super athlete or you have a lot of help with you to move that much deer. I do have a lot of other buck hanging on the wall, but they're very scraggly mountain bucks. Some of them are like mutated racks. Some are 5 points, some are 6 points, some are 7. I have one that has 4 on one side and 2 funky ones on the other side. Okay, save the best for last. My nephew found this rack, and pretty much when he found it, it looked like this. This buck actually came from that area, but the hunters never connected with this buck. I'm not really sure how much this weighed, but judging by the size of the rack and the head, I'm going to say this is a very old deer. I don't know, it still has all its teeth. You can see that. Usually older deer, because of how they eat, when you shoot an old buck, they usually have no teeth left. They grind their teeth down and they usually starve to death. So I'm not sure if a hunter put a round through this one and it died somewhere, or this was actually found in an open spot where a lot of hunters kept passing through. It has a very, very interesting rack. It has 2 forks at the end. It could have had a point here, 1 there. So there's 4 there. There's 1 there. So it could have had 5. It had 6 on this side. 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's a perfect 10 point. So this would be cool to find in the woods. To me, this could be a true timber goose because it avoided all the hunters, and it passed away in the woods where it lived its entire life. And just think of how many hunters that this buck avoided. You might have seen it, but you never got a chance to kill it. So this is what the buck look like when they get very old. This is a true timber goose. And back in ravine, I've actually seen buck that were bigger than this, but yeah, they outsmarted me. I could see their antlers sticking up out of the rhododendrons, but I could never get close enough to get a shot at him. He would run up around the mountain, around the other side, and vanish, never to be seen again. So very interesting rack. Give State Game Lands 222 a try. It's definitely deer back there, but be prepared to be back there all day if you shoot a deer. It's very tough to get in there. It's very tough to get out. If you kill a deer back there, you got your work cut out for you, because once the deer tips over, that's when the hard work starts. But thanks again for watching PA Timber Ghost. If you like these videos, please subscribe at the bottom, give me a thumbs up, and hopefully you'll score some big racks back in there like we have over the years. Thanks for watching.